Jason, you just
We're just gonna let it ride.
All right, cool.
It's been a while.
Probably should do something better now, right?
No, we're right.
It does, but it doesn't change. It just keeps doing this.
This is it.
I mean,
I know.
it slowly
Lord,
fade it out,
Beautiful for it.
and it would be, Actually, I heard some weird things, artifacts going on there. The pitch dropped for a second. It felt like it slowed down for a moment and then sped up a bit. I'm way too critical of the whole thing, but still, it felt a little off.
A little off.
Not the beginning. Beginning was solid. Beginning was fucking fire. Oh, we'll get that out of the way then.
And let's get that out of the way real fast.
We're good.
And that's
We're
the
done.
one. Wasted so soon, so early.
Oh,
the good die young, as they say.
As things move on and mature, it's like I'm starting to wonder about that single F-bomb rule nowadays. Maybe you should just throw that out.
Could be.
Could be.
I think. Does Facebook even care anymore? I know YouTube still kind of cares.
Did Facebook ever care? That's really the question.
Of course they did. Of course.
Not about us.
No, of
They
course
never cared about us.
Not about us.
Well, we don't cause enough waves to really matter.
Enough?
Are you saying we don't?
At all?
None. Continue, Sean.
I said, are you saying we don't make a ruckus? Is that?
I think so, man.
Okay.
We're old. It's been 2 months. We haven't ruckused anything.
I haven't ruckus. Speak for yourself. I've ruckused a few things.
Utah does not count.
I wasn't in Utah.
For that time?
I was not in Utah. It was Nevada and California.
Oh, that's what I meant. I thought you could have said.
Right. What you thought I said that you heard is not really what I meant.
Look, one of you white people were somewhere. I don't know anymore. I don't care.
He was in the mecca of the white individuals. I was just in, California, man.
The mecca of the white individuals.
That's where
he's
go.
not wrong.
Utah is.
I'm not saying he's wrong.
He's not wrong.
I want to chastise you.
I was
but I can't.
like, damn, this is white. Like,
I've been there, man. It's so white they had to lower the alcohol percentage of beers in the grocery stores. That's how white it is.
So does Oklahoma.
It's like, like driving around was like, and by the way, whoever designed their road systems was on mescaline, but it's like living in a Whole Foods. That's
living
what it felt like.
Really?
Yeah, like it just,
that's their new state motto right there.
Welcome to Utah. Like living in a Whole Foods.
Whole Foods. It just felt like everything just felt like I felt weirded out. It was cool. I got to see the Great Salt Lake, and that was cool.
So
but
Sean is sending glorious pictures of the location of where he's at. They're downright, photographic. You can put up as a wallpaper pictures.
Yeah,
it's creepy.
Jason sends, and he's like, look at all this stuff in Utah, and he starts sending bathroom photos. Look at this place where this weird bathroom is in Utah. I'm like, what are you doing? I was like,
I'm sorry, it's not the most picturesque place in the world. I'm sorry, Utah, but it's not like it's pretty. It really is. It just doesn't photograph well. Like that one chick that it's like she's really pretty, and you're talking to her in person. You take a picture, and you're like, why did she go from a 6.5 to like a 5 or a 4.5? Like, what the heck?
I almost said a name that all three of us know.
I know. Oh yeah.
I got that close.
It just doesn't photograph well. Like, it was cool. The Salt Lake was salty. It's got brine shrimp. I mean,
he sent like the worst pictures ever. I'm like, Christy, take away his camera. Now, Christy took beautiful pictures, but Jason was like, look at this copper mine. Did you know this is the only place where people are buried when they're killed? Look.
That's what really surprises me, is because there is a lot of beautiful stuff out there. I mean, sure, it's mostly rocks, because what else are you going to look at? But there's beautiful stuff out there, man. So I don't understand. Now, just to clarify, these bathroom pics, they were not like live bathroom pics. You weren't.
They were outside.
Bowl photos.
He found a sign on the outside. Funny. Okay. He sent that. Good morning, dog.
It was a funny sign. That just made me wonder, what the hell's going on in Utah? Do you need this kind of a sign?
I had all right. So I had a
That's it. I
similar
found it
thought
humorous.
when I was at the airport and here in DFW, when we were leaving, and I was like, on the outside of the bathroom, it has this little plaque with a tornado on it that says disaster area. Morning, Don. And I just thought, I mean, you had to put the sign up for the disaster. I'm sure it's a disaster area in there, but could you just clean it up? Like, is there any real reason to have? Now I know what they obviously mean is like go here in case of a tornado, but seriously, it's a poorly placed sign.
You know what's funny is if that was not the case, and they actually did have it, it was like, don't go in this restroom. Like it's a disaster. You don't know how.
Send that picture real quick.
You what?
Welcome to Vagabond Nerds, powered by visit Jeremy for all your geeky accoutrement. All right, I'm done.
Yes, welcome to Vagabond Nerds. Haven't done this in so long that we forget to introduce ourselves and thank our sponsor.
life has really been challenging. I was gonna say the last 2 months, but shit, man, since January. And I know we're not alone. So for all of those of us who are struggling, just keep your head on, man. Keep going forward. Jason actually, in the meantime, has like 1,000 viewers on his shows, but that's because he has 1,000 podcasts going, and he's got one viewer per podcast.
It's fair.
So he's got 2 on this morning on this one, so now he's up. He's got his viewers on the rise. Hey, special quick shout out.
That's the sign, by the way.
That's the sign. That's what I get. Sean sends me beautiful, glorious stuff, and we get this from Jason. Apparently how to sit on the toilet during use.
Yeah, all the different. It's nice. I've actually seen the do not stand on toilet a lot lately. I think people have been, and I will say I know that in some other countries that's a normal thing actually to climb up on top of whatever and stand on it. So I don't know. Maybe it's just becoming more culturally accepted to do it that way here in the States, as different, cultures mix. Who knows? Then again, maybe somebody just doesn't want to sit there clean booty on a filthy freaking toilet seat that someone has wiped poo all over and pissed all over. Because I gotta say, man, when we were in Tahoe, looking at all the crazy toilets that I didn't send Ray pictures of.
Thank you.
I was amazed. I was just like, wow, I don't think I want to stand and pee into this. I'm a little nervous to stand too close to this thing.
Okay, so now I want to separate Utah from Whole Foods, because Whole Foods actually has really clean restrooms.
Yeah, they do.
So
I've never used a bathroom in Whole Foods. Whole Foods is usually so expensive. I can't do anything more than buy one thing and leave.
Yeah, well,
I'm not there long enough to use the
bathroom.
Yeah.
In my past life,
it's been a while since I bought anything from Whole Foods, but yes, he's correct.
Yeah, the only reason I go there is to get, if it's a special occasion, it's like I need to get meat. I don't want to get a steak. I'll go there for that. Other than that, I can't shop there, man. That's too expensive.
Hello Aldi and hello Walmart.
Right.
Yeah, I love me some Aldi.
Some Aldi.
Some Aldi.
When we were in Tahoe, we had grand plans to eat at like a bunch of these places. We did like a restaurant. I don't know if anybody else does this, but we were like, let's look at restaurants. Let's see if there's stuff we might want to check out, just so you get there instead of getting there and be like, what do we do? And we had a list of places we're like, that sounds good. We'll try that. We actually only ate out. And I mean, really like sat down, had a meal twice. And we were there for 7 days.
I was about to say, y'all were gone for a while too.
Yes. A lot of cooking?
Had to. Prices on everything were double what they are here.
Wow.
We went out for a 4-person dinner, late lunch, early dinner sort of situation. It was me, my brother, sister-in-law, my wife, just the 4 of us. And we each had a drink at the table, and we each had a plate of dinner. And I mean a plate like a burger and fries, and then a chicken fried steak and this. And it's simple stuff, some tacos and that. 4 people, a meal like that, what would you think the total would be? Just tell me what you would pay for something like that normally.
For the couple or for the four?
No, for the four. If it's a four
Let's go
top, you're paying all four.
125. 125.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that sounds
Really?
about right.
For all four people?
Yeah, I'd go there.
125?
Couple of drinks.
Well, I
you
mean,
know,
what you
food,
said, yeah.
125.
I mean, I would have shot like about 85, right between 80 and 90. But
that's where I was going with Jason. Is like 80, 90 bucks for
Was it
people.
the 125?
$184.
No, that's not
Ooh,
right.
No.
You know, that sounds like you overpaid. That sounds like you overpaid for something that probably wasn't that good. Like, I don't know, watching The Flash.
So
Which is a
I'm
great transition.
gonna put a pin in that for just 1 second, and then I'll touch on one other little thing. We went to the first place we got when we went there. We grabbed some food because we got in early, and we went and got lunch. We didn't have anything, couldn't do anything. And it was I had a lamb gyro, and my wife had a breakfast taco with some fries. I had one beer, and I had 2 beers, and she had 2 painkillers, or maybe 1 painkiller. Anyways, that was $87 for just 2 people.
That's ridiculous, man. Definitely.
Okay, that's
I love the fact, and I'm going to segue into this. I love the fact that we're about to dump on The Flash, and of course, this is the one DC movie that Genesis from ANX Gamecast is all about.
I wonder if Genesis is gaslighting you.
He's doing it on purpose. I feel. Well, yeah.
All right,
it's got to be.
So yes, Ray. To your point, it's like paying to see The Flash.
I had free tickets that I used on The Flash, and I felt cheated. Like, I'll tell you my main problem with The Flash as we get into our reviews here, because it's just hysterical.
By the way, I can't agree more with Genesis. In fact, it may be the best DC movie ever made. It may be one of the best comic book movies ever made.
It
may be one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah, Jason has
Schindler's List has nothing on The Flash.
Schindler's List.
Mm-mm.
If they had done it all,
really inappropriate.
I know you did. I know. That's why I was standing up for it.
All in black and white.
A true renaissance in filmmaking. If we don't get more movies like this, I feel like we would have missed a great societal turning point as a species. Really,
this movie had such great potential. And I will say this. I'll say this about The Flash. With the exception of Ron Livingston, everyone was actually acting their hearts out in this flick. And yes, Kim, we are still alive.
I mean, speak for
barely.
yourself.
What do you call alive? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it just depends.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone. I cannot say that the acting was bad in this movie. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Again,
Everyone.
Ron
well
Livingston absolutely playing the part of one of the 2 Bobs from Office Space and just phoning it in, except worse than that.
Why the character change there? Why the actor change? Like,
because what's his name? Billy Crudup or whatever. He had a conflict.
Billy Crudup.
Yeah, he had a conflict.
Okay, that's a shame because I love me some Billy Crudup. He's a very he's a very good actor. He's
in the small scenes he was in for what was that? Justice League.
Justice League.
Brilliant. Yeah, I loved it. I was like, I want to see more of this guy. Like
Ron Livingston was not.
Yeah, he was very much just there for the paycheck, and I understand.
Ron Livingston. I also love him as an actor, but not for this role.
No,
not for.
This This is not one of those. Like, I'm right there with Sean. I like Ron Livingston, but when I saw him in there, I'm like, this feels out of place. he has an element that he's very, very good in.
Mm-hmm.
This was not it.
Mm-hmm.
Other things that were not it were the movie. But yeah, to Ray's point, so here's the thing. It's sort of like we were talking about earlier, like Utah is really pretty, but it doesn't photograph well. This was one of those things where this movie, it feels like a solid 6, but it's like an honorary 6, because when you think about it, it's like a best of 5, but everyone's acting so well in, like they're really, really putting their heart into it. So you're like, I got to give it a 6. It is
the
fun.
cameos.
It's stupid fun. It's fine, but just
and the
you know, like
cameos.
it's at best a 5, maybe even a 4.5, but it feels like he gets an honorary 6. It's like the reverse. Like he photographs well than better than what it looks like in real life. That's how I feel.
There was a good movie in there somewhere.
Oh, we found it.
We found it. Yeah, that's the worst part. Ray and I found it. Like 2 minutes.
I kept telling Jason, I was like, I don't know how you make this movie better, and not like 30 seconds later, I was like, no, correction. I can make it better.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear this.
We did. So
I want to hear this.
Well, let's do the tease. Sean, what would you rate it? You heard Jason's honorary 6,
4.5.
4.
Honestly, 4.5. I went into it. It's not that I went into it disappointed. I knew it wasn't going to be that good just because I'd heard so many things, and it was in developmental hell for a little while, and there's so much turmoil that was surrounding it. So there was a lot of shit going on, and I knew that there was going to be something with it. But I was surprised at how kind of blah it was. That was the thing, was I was just surprised at the fact that it was kind of blah. I was like, I really thought there was a little more in here than this, and it wasn't. It was lacking.
Yeah, I got out of the movie, and I think I pinged Jason, or Jason pinged me because he knew I was going to see it. He was like, "How was it?" I was like, "It's a movie."
Oh no, I sent you a text about that. I asked you about it, and you said the same thing. You were like, it's a movie.
It's
and
a movie.
I was like, okay, definitely gonna wait.
Money was spent on it.
Yeah. No money was spent on it. And again, I
spent.
still feel I felt cheated.
I meant the studio spent money on making it.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay, so let's talk about let's get into the Flash. Kim, that's what we're talking about. We know we go everywhere, but we're going to talk about
I don't
Flash.
think we even really know. I mean, we're talking about the Flash, but really not. It's a metaphor for life, really.
First and foremost, Ezra Miller as Barry Allen, the Flash. Okay. He acted well. They acted well. Sorry. I didn't come up against the acting that was there at all. Everyone who was in it, especially when you start getting into the Michael Keaton bits and the Sasha Calle bits, I loved it for sure.
They were great.
They were acting their hearts out. You could tell they wanted to be a part of it. Michael Shannon, you could tell he was collecting a paycheck, but he still acted a lot better than Ron Livingston. So
I think there was Michael Shannon didn't have a lot of opportunity to build a big character up, so there was no real. I don't.
I get Ray's point, but I do think that's a little unfair because he just wasn't. It wasn't like he had a lot of time to do much with it.
Yeah, but he still showed up.
Yeah, he still showed up, and he still did his job.
He showed up. Yeah. He did his job. He acted. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The overall problem with the Flash movie is the Flash television show did it so well 10 years ago. And you either keep with it or you borrow from it, but you don't try to repeat the mistakes of that show to make a movie. Were there good parts? Yes. And reading Kim's little post there, and I'm thinking, the whole thing about Supergirl, I that was a highlight. Supergirl, Batman, these are highlights of the film.
The supporting characters were highlights of this movie. It was a little. It's just, that's my point. It's just, it was lacking. There was something that was lacking when I couldn't wait to see.
Punch Ezra Miller in the face. Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. It's like I couldn't wait to see the old Batman again, and that's just what I was waiting for. And it was it was cool to see Ben Affleck still wearing the Batsuit in the beginning of the movie. I really think that's the one thing I'm the most disappointed of in these franchises. How this franchise collapsed. I really would have loved to have seen like a true Ben Affleck devoted Batman movie, I think we missed that opportunity. But yeah, when Michael Keaton showed up as Batman, I was like, here we go, now it's a movie. Do you know what I mean? Like that's how when I felt like, here we are, now it's a movie.
And that's the problem.
That was 45 minutes in, like,
easy. But that's your problem.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be waiting for Michael Keaton's Batman to show up for the movie to start, and you were. I mean,
Yeah.
I've probably been the biggest I've probably been the biggest supporter of DC films when I can. I mean, I recognize the issues, but this one was just too much. Definitely not an 8, Genesis. But it was
solid
just
9. Solid 9.
solid 9.
Solid 9.
It was rough to watch, and again, highlights. There are plenty of highlights. I didn't even bump against the crappy CGI. Part of that mainly because the director was trying to come out, which was quickly argued against, but just the fact that he was saying that that's how Flash would see it. That's his visual sight into what everyone else is calling campy CGI, but that's how he views it in Flash time. And then, of course, I think, what was it, Jason? 3 weeks after, one of the CGI artists.
Muted, Jason.
Yeah. But 3 weeks after, one of the CGI artists comes out and goes, no, that's because you guys didn't pay us. We were working crazy hours. We gave you what you deserved. Now, whether that's true or not, we don't know, but certainly it seems to be the case, especially when we have Disney's artists coming out and saying, hey, we're about to unionize because this is getting out of hand. So there's that possibility that, studios are absolutely just, giving the CGI artists the runaround. But I didn't even bump up against it because it was cool to see some of the stuff. Very cool. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. Not that we're already not spoiling it. Very cool to see Nicolas Cage as the Superman that we never got. I thought that was kind of cool.
Was that actually, like, did they? I don't think they actually got him. They just CGI'd him in there, right?
No,
yeah, it was all CGI.
No, incorrect. He showed up and actually wore the outfit.
Really?
Yeah, they said they went back and got the same costume designer from Superman Lives.
From when they were talking about doing the Tim Burton
when they were talking about
piece.
doing it, and he came back, and so he dressed up for Superman for a bit, for a little bit. But you also have to keep
thought it was all CGI.
Well, you have to keep in touch with what was around on their CGI stuff. So but he came back for a little bit of it, which I was surprised at too. I thought it was just an homage, an honor to what could have been, but no, they asked and they went and they got the designer back, and so good on them for that. But I don't bump into any of the people who are sitting there or were saying it's a travesty because look at all these people, Christopher Reeve's estate, Adam West estate. It's like all of these estates for people who had passed, they had to sign off. So it's not like they weren't aware of what was going on. That it may or may not have been poorly executed is not on them, but
that's true.
Overall, I didn't bump into that. I thought that little scene was pretty cool. But just the overall flow of the movie, if you're gonna talk about the depression or the stress that he's going through because of the death of his mother, then focus on that. If you're gonna focus on the fact that him going back changed the future with Clark not being there or anything else, and apparently him going into the past and giving her a can of tomatoes sends Kal-El's ship off course, and that's why you get
butterfly effect, man. Butterfly effect.
Well, I do like the explanation, although I wish they had gone a little bit closer to what they did in the comics, where they said, because in the comic, the entire reason wasn't that he saved his mom. It was how he traveled back in time. It created essentially like the temporal equivalent of a sonic boom. And that's what it was, that because that rippled throughout time and space, forward and backward. And so that's what was the cause. It was him breaking the time barrier the way he did it. That's always been the thing, is it isn't necessarily the causality. It's it's in the, again, it's the equivalent of a temporal sonic boom. That's what's category, throws everything askew. But I did kind of like their explanation where it's like, you're not creating another branch of time off of this one. You're creating a fulcrum point.
Yeah, and so this is your pivot. So now everything, there's other piece, like you've changed the beginning of how it got here as well as the future of where it's gone.
Yeah. Or as old man Bruce put it, spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Which I did love. That was good. And they had explanation. They had a nice callback at the end of everything where he said, spaghetti or whatever at the end. He basically mentions that, and I was like, well done. But I had almost forgotten about the good explanation of spaghetti because of all the horrible shit that happened in between it to get to the end where it was a callback, and I was like, oh, I almost missed that because the movie disappointed me so much. That's a very fine line there. If you're gonna listen, Warner Brothers, Marvel, if you're gonna do shit like that, make sure it's good so people remember it. Don't lose their focus. So.
Well, and I mean, I walked out of there, and I know this is going to tick off Jason at least, but he understands where I'm coming from on this. I walked out of that movie feeling a lot like I did on the very first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Meh. Like, that's just how I was, like, meh. What? I mean,
I'll give it to you.
You know, I didn't waste 2 hours because I had them to give, but at the same time, I didn't feel like it was
well spent.
You're not getting it back.
Yeah, I'm not getting it back. So,
can I talk a minute about how terrible the costume design was for this? I mean,
what was
really bad?
What was wrong with that original Flash costume from Justice League?
Apparently it wouldn't fit in the ring. Like, I think that's the only explanation for it, because the costume, I'm sorry, that's a terrible costume. I get it. It's just awful. Like, I'm sorry, the Flash television show has had some good costumes and some less good costumes, but none of them were that bad a costume. That was worse than Captain America and the Avengers costume.
I guess, I don't know. I didn't really, of all the things to take an issue with, I didn't care what they were dressed like. I was just like, there's a lot more here to make me angry. And I don't think I was upset with, I say angry. There's a lot more here to be disappointed in, right? Yeah. This isn't, I mean, we're not talking $40,000 to raise somebody till they're 18 and then they disappoint you, but it was close. Like, it was really close.
That's cute. You think it's only $40,000. Try 1.5 million to raise a kid.
Listen, I said to an age limit, right? I put it to an age limit. I didn't go past that. So
that is the age limit.
That is the age limit.
That is the age limit. Ask Ezra. He knows all about age limits.
Ooh.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Okay, so here's my overall problem with this movie. You had it set so that Ezra wasn't his own worst enemy, and you could have done it with 2, not 3 versions of Barry Allen.
Yeah.
So Zack Snyder had made the comment that when he was working on his movies, you know, his was always a 5-movie act, right? You got Man of Steel 1, you got Batman VVS, you know, whatever. You have Justice Leagues 1 and 2 with the possibility of 3, and then you had a Superman Returns. But he wanted to be involved in the Flash movie because he wanted Flashpoint to actually reset the timeline. So obviously that doesn't happen, right? But at the same time, in Justice League, they set up everything that needed to happen for Barry to go back. And you could have included the Nightmare timeline scenario where Superman's taken over. But just by having Barry travel back from that point, even start it with the Nightmare scenario where, you know, it's the future, you know, Superman's sitting there tearing up everything because of Darkseid, and Barry goes back. Well, you can have that scene where he's like, am I too soon? Am I gone too far? Like, he's trying to figure out time travel. And then I would say he goes back because he's thinking momentarily about his mom, and have him go back to that point on accident. And he thinks, while I'm here, I can fix my mom from dying, you know? And then when he finally figures out how to go back to the current timeline, we now have this current state more in line with the Flashpoint comic book, where everyone's at war. Kal-El's nowhere to be found. You have the Atlanteans against the Amazons, and man caught in the middle. Like, you have this really true setup that mimics the Flashpoint comic book graphic novel. And when you're done going through the graphic novel, you haven't read it, please do. It's awesome. You don't have The only thing you would really change is you don't necessarily have Reverse Flash controlling that, but instead you do have that Dark Flash. You only have one version where Barry's been trying to go back and fix it, and you can have that uh, factor into it. But don't do Zod. You have them just talking about that war that was created.
That was unnecessary in my
Yeah, I mean, like you have this entire thing where you can bring back Gal, you can bring back Jason, you can even, if you wanted to, bring back Ray Fisher, right? You have this
because
opportunity.
the cyborg of that timeline in the comic
Mhm.
featured very prominently.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, you have a lot that you could do there.
And
I mean, you could even, I even would have loved to have seen, if they had taken more bits from even the Flashpoint animated movie from back when, like maybe instead of having, Batman be Batman, what if he's his father instead? Do you know what I mean? Like, why
the
not
Flashpoint
make
Thomas
him
Wayne, which is why they
Thomas
picked
Wayne
Jeffrey Dean
instead of
Morgan.
Bruce Wayne?
But that's just what Jason just said. That's why they
Yeah.
had Jeffrey Dean Morgan, was because it was supposed to factor into that later Flashpoint. You know?
Dude,
I mean,
great. Or even Thomas Jane. Throw Thomas Jane in there. He did the voice for it, and who cares? He would have been great. He would have been great in that.
Whichever one. But it would have been a spectacular film, and then even end it like you did the comic with, Thomas Wayne writing that note to Bruce, and you don't have to end it with showing anyone who Batman is. He just takes off the cowl. You see it from the back, and it just ends with that line from the book where he's like, "You're a hell of a messenger, Barry," and you never see who Batman is, and you've set up this next generation for Gunn to just go in and have fun with, and you can keep Ezra if you want. You don't have to, whatever the case may be. Now, personally, I would love for him to go back in. He hands the letter to Bruce, and the big reveal is when you turn around to see which Flash it is, it's Grant Gustin.
Right.
That would be my personal thing.
Yeah.
But you had a story there that had built up that you could have used all of this, and instead let's recap Man of Steel again. Why?
Yeah, such an odd decision to go back, and they're like, but no, okay, not to mention, so this all happens, like you said earlier, because of the canned tomatoes.
Yeah.
Right.
So hold on real quick. Genesis just sent me a text
Uh-oh.
saying he bought it and he actually showed me the copy of the Flash, and I just want to say, buddy, I'm sorry you spent $20. It's
seriously
it's on Max. You didn't have to buy it.
He's not trolling us. He's not trolling us right now.
I'm not going to show you, but I just got the text. Yeah.
All right. So look, why?
I think we need to have an intervention here.
If going back and if going back and having Barry Allen give his mother a can of tomatoes so that she doesn't forget about it changes the timeline so much that Zod comes to Earth and destroys the Earth, then how come moving a whole shelf worth of tomato cans up to the top shelf so that your dad has to look up to get the cans? That seems like you've changed where everybody was going to show up and pick up the cans from. How many more lives did you impact by moving an entire shelf's worth of things up to the top from where they were?
Yep.
Why is the only difference there that it was like, what did he say when they showed up? It wasn't the Beatles. There was something else he was talking about. It was like Footloose with Kevin Bacon, but it wasn't Kevin Bacon.
It was Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Where they used Eric Stoltz, which was a great one because Eric Stoltz was initially cast and did film the entire movie until they were like, you know what, this doesn't work. Let's do it again. How come that didn't change everything? Like, that's what threw me off.
Well, it did. We got George Clooney Batman. Of course, it changed it.
But it doesn't seem all right. But it didn't do it negatively, apparently. Like or if it did, we haven't seen Zod show up yet, right? So who knows?
It's just you had the opportunity to change a lot. If you didn't want Ezra to come back, if you didn't want, I'm still laughing at Genesis. If you didn't want Ezra to come back, you had an opportunity to switch Grant. If you wanted to show this true Flashpoint timeline, you could have used people that had been there and had this completely different. You could have done so much in what would have had actually. You're not wrong, Kim. But how it would have affected everything, and you could have shown in a 2.5 hour movie just the fact that because this one thing was changed, like in the graphic novel, it created a lot more chaos. I don't necessarily,
Mhm.
without having to go back and say, look, see, this is what happened because Zod defeated us all. No, just there was already stuff going on before that.
That's a great point. This had almost an origin story problem to it.
Yeah.
Because it spends so much time going back and
Mhm.
showing you that he's going to make these changes. He's going to move a can. He's going to put a can in a basket, whatever. That they wasted the potential of the movie and the focus of the movie on that. They could have, to your point, started out with him either just flat out doing it, and that's that's the opening sequence is him going through the time, going through the time, space, whatever, and dropping a can off and leaving, to then coming back to this whole changed world, and now we have to deal with it, instead of like leading up to that for 40 minutes, doing it, and then going, great, now we've got two berries to deal with this whole way through.
It's he sneezes and we get a cameo. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
And by the way, a wasted end credit scene is with Jason Momoa.
Oh, that was stupid. No, that was stupid. That was pointless. There was no why.
That's what I'm saying.
It wasn't, but it wasn't pointless. They did it because they were trying to say that he had continued to try to fix the little Batman error he did. Because if you hear what Barry's saying, he's like, you don't understand. And every time I've tried to do this, there is it's a different person who is Bruce. Like, he goes, but you're the same. I'm the same. And I'm like, oh.
Which means he fundamentally didn't learn the lesson. He's still jacking with time. Like, they undid the great lesson he was supposed to have learned.
Mm-hmm.
He completely throws that away. And it's like, well, why are we here? What did you do?
What was the name of the character again? What's the name of that one again? The evil Barry, not Servitor, what's the
Savitar?
Savitar. Savitar. I would have loved to have seen that as more of like, let's do a Savitar thing. Like, that would have been a great thing to do instead. I mean, again, yeah, great. The Flash on TV already did it, and they did a much better job of it. But that would have been a great thing to do. Like, that was still good. I don't know, man. I did have an opportunity.
I had the conversation with Jason. I said the problem is that because they did it so well for the first 3 to 4 years of the Flash, they shouldn't have tried to repeat. Down to, might I add, Cisco and Caitlin from the Flash.
Yeah, they did.
Blink and miss it, throwaway cameo because they're his friends. I'm like,
yeah.
What was the purpose of that? What was the purpose of West? Of what's her name? Iris West. Like, what was her purpose? They didn't build up anything. If it was to sit there and have him live in this entirely different era, go to Flashpoint from the graphic novels or from the animated series. It would have been a much better.
We're not vested in him having a relationship with Iris at all in this film. None of that had been set up. Again, the ideas of doing Flashpoint, again, the way it was set up was supposed to be the end of the story. Now we're emotionally invested in all of these other characters and these side characters, and we have that little bit of emotional attachment. So it's going to mean something to us when he's interacting with them. That's all gone. Like, we don't get enough time to care about this. And as Kim pointed out, Ezra can act emotions real well. The awkward, nerdy, guy shtick is irritating. I completely agree with her on this. And they leaned real heavy into that, which is also one of the problems I had. But it goes back to, but there's never really time to gain that emotional connection there. In many ways, this is literally the Flash picked up and threw away the thing that Ray says all the time, which is it doesn't have to be about the fate of the world. It just has to be about the fate of your world. It stepped on its own emotional pathos a lot. Like, even if we get rid of the Nightmare Timeline scenario, right? Overall, if they had just thought this one through a little bit differently and focused on him and his mother and him in trying to save his father, and it would have worked better. There needed to be more connection, but they keep tying things together and trying to throw things into it that just don't work. Like, you can keep overall the story can kind of stay the same, but focus on it being him screwing things up. And again, the idea of him being the Dark Flash, because it's over and it's like, I can fix this, I can fix this, I can fix this, I can fix everything, is a great idea. How about you play with that a little bit more?
If executed well.
Yeah, if executed well, that's the problem. It's like, but we didn't get enough time with the Dark Flash for that to for that to have any emotional resonance. And again, they made him so old that you're like, you're telling me you've been doing this for 60 years and now suddenly you don't, and you're just now coming to this realization. Like, I'm sorry, just it throws it away.
It was the equivalent of Sam Raimi throwing Venom in there. Like, that's what it was. It was a wasted thing. There was something good that could have come from that, and instead you're like, well, we have to do it because it's going to make people happy. No, it's not. It's going to make us disappointed because it's not even a real taste of anything, because to Jason's point, there's no emotional connection to any of it. You didn't establish anything that made us care about this film. The only good things, and I mean, Ray, you said it before, was like the best parts of this movie were the cameos, to get to see these people reliving what we call, and Kim even said it with the nostalgia glasses, right? She had her nostalgia lenses on and she enjoyed it. And so did I for that point. But I mean, the only real enjoyable part of this movie I remember was watching the Flash save everybody from the hospital when the whole pillar collapses. And that's like the very beginning. That was the only time. That's the only time where I was like, okay, this is actually kind of cool. Like, I can see this makes sense. And even when they were doing that, when they were doing that, though, I had this little thing in the back of my head where I was like, Fox did it better. Fox did it better. Because all I could see was Quicksilver rescuing everybody from the mansion when it exploded in First Class, right? In that timeline. So even the thing they did right was still kind of
derivative.
Poached. Yeah, it was poached from something else. It just wasn't really unique. So I mean, this is a very tough one to watch. And yeah, I don't know.
I did like the watch idea for the calorie count. Right. I was like, that makes sense. You want to know when you need to have those calorie intakes, but
which they completely threw away that idea in the third act, by the way. And I was about to mention that because that did piss me off. I'm like, the entire first 2/3 of this movie, you're very keen about his metabolism, which I think, again, that was a great idea. Is a way of building some tension there. And then it's like, third act, what super metabolism? What need for caloric intake? We don't know what you're talking about. He can run forever.
And would that affect the Dark Flash at some point? Like, would it?
We don't know how many times he stopped for a hot dog on the way, though, right? He's so fast he may have picked something up here and there. I mean, maybe he climbed aboard Zod's ship and grabbed a Uber protein bar from wherever. Right? We don't know.
Have a throwaway line in there, something. I can't imagine running into the time zone bubble or dome. Doesn't wear you out just a little bit more than anything else you've done. So yeah, it was weird. But and Kim, it's a good point, right? So like it was. I agree, right? It's sad with him going back and talking to his mom. But again, my problem is the CW did it better. And having gotten to meet John Wesley Shipp and talk about that particular scene and him saying, he goes, what a lot of people don't know, and I think he might have mentioned this in an interview or two, is the fact. All right, hold on. I'm gonna pause for a minute.
I get it.
Okay. Why do I picture him resorting to cannibalism in that final battle since no one is bringing chips to the fight?
It makes me think he's like, I can see him popping off everybody's heads like little Pez dispensers to take.
Oh, that reminds me. I'll come right back to that.
Yeah.
But John Wesley Shipp had made mention that scene with Barry and his mom, that was the first time they had shot with Grant Gustin and the other actress, of them being together, and they nailed that like first take.
Yeah.
He goes, being there, it was fantastic and awesome. And while it was sad and emotional on that scene when he's talking to his mom before he has to take the can back out, it did not resonate as much as it did in the Flash CW show. So the other problem I have with this, and this is where me and Jason were saying it, how if you have the ability to phase and kill Kryptonians as the Flash did by sticking his hand through his heart, why was that even a fight?
You got 2 Flashes able to do this. You've got 2
Hey, younger Barry, I'm going to teach you how to do this. Get to Zod before he gets to Supergirl.
Yeah, that's an easy fix. Like, if you say he can't do it, fine. You say it doesn't work on him, fine. At least, like, it would be a bullshit explanation, but I can live with it. You're like, hey, look at this thing he can do. Oh, you mean they could just kill all of the Kryptonians that fast and end this entire conversation? Why aren't they doing that?
Are you hearing that, Genesis? I'm finding loopholes, buddy. Like, that blew my mind. I was like, you show me once that he can kill Kryptonian with little effort. Why is this big battle a big battle?
Why is this even happening? Why is this even happening?
Yep. So I bumped into a lot of problems with this movie. I did. And maybe if it's executed well, they can forget that, right? And I don't have to sit there and talk, think about that, but it just wasn't. So I don't get that portion of it. And yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that was left. There was a lot of stuff that they could have done better and they just didn't.
Yeah. I think the problem is there was a better movie in here somewhere. Mm-hmm. But again, because everyone acted their hearts out, I want to give it an honorary 6. Except for Ron Livingston. I want to give it an honorary 6, even though it is closer to like a 5 or 4.5. But it's like, it's not an unenjoyable time. I've had worse times in the theater. Looking at you, 8mm. But
that's an odd comparison to jump to.
I'm just saying I've had worse times. That's all I'm saying.
I think that was an uncomfortable time. I don't know if that was a worse time.
It was a very uncomfortable time.
Yeah, very uncomfortable time, but not a worse time.
We were also wondering when the fight was going to start that his ex-wife had possibly caused. So yeah, that was the thing. Anyway, back to my point. To Ray's point is you're going to do Flashpoint. It's hard to not look at what the Flash has done on that television show so damn well. At some point, someone should have said, okay, well, since we're not doing Snyder's overall plan for this universe, maybe we should think of a different plot.
Right.
Because that solves a lot of your problems and allows you things like, why should we care about Iris? Because she is a love interest. Let him have the love interest. Do that story. Let it be about the Flash. Let it be about him trying to figure out what it is. Give him a better costume. It really does, because it's like you paid people to design that costume, and that is the best they came up with. It's awful.
I gotta look this up. Well, I mean, keep talking, but I gotta see that.
I'm just saying, just pick another story. Have him fight the turtle or Turtle Man, for crying out loud. I mean, I'm saying I could make that a more compelling story. The Flash has so many compelling rogues. There's a really good story in there with him. And if you want to do the, he can go back in time thing, you got to do it right. It's a hard thing to do. So have him fight Thawne. I keep wanting to say Thrawn, but that's Star Wars. Have him fight Thawne. There's 100 different characters you can choose from. And this is what we got. Like, that's my problem. It would be
great, an evil Flash.
Yeah.
We have that. We have a couple of those. It doesn't need to be Barry. Or if it does, Savitar. Barry. Give me that one.
Just saying, it's like if you can't, the way it was planned out, again, you could just feel like they were trying to piece this together from this other stuff. Just go your own way. Tell a different story. Let it be.
I've watched it again, and it's not. There are certain.
You watched it twice?
I watched it twice. There are certain fun
voluntarily.
Scenes, but
voluntarily,
because I thought maybe because Genesis was edging to the whole point of I think it's good. I was like, let me give it another shot. And I'm just like, no. I found more problems with it the second time around.
Well, it's it's like the opposite of the original Fantastic Four movie. Like, that's the one thing Ray and I have talked about. Those two Fantastic Four films,
they're kind of holding up.
They hold up. Their rewatchability factor very high.
And I like first time
I
watched
it. Would you say they were underrated?
I think.
Just kidding.
These might have been underrated. Which let's leave the Flash in the past here.
We had bashed
Gentlemen,
on it for 30 minutes.
yeah, I sure did say
Longer
Fantastic
than that.
Four.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yes, Donald.
And I'm
there
sorry,
were
the second
several
one I think
female
is even
flashes.
better. But yeah, it's worth watching.
There were several female flashes, including some that were evil. Don.
There's been a lot of
Underrated movies.
speedsters
Let's get
in-
into that real quick because
Yeah.
we've had some time to think about it. Sean, underrated movie that you go back and think, man, that was kind of harsh on that, or man, that was better than I thought it would be.
Well, so listen, I was thinking about this the other day. It just kind of like, I don't remember why. I think I was laying awake at night at 2 a.m. and the ADHD brain kicked in. I was like, you know, it was a good movie. I was like, oh shit, here we go. But Toy Soldiers. Either
Wow,
of y'all
that's
remember
cool.
that?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
With Sean
been a while.
Astin,
Yeah.
Will Wheaton, Louis Gossett Jr. Dude, that was one of those movies that I remember it was in the theaters for a flash of a second, haha, and then it ended up in video, and it was on TBS or 21 or whatever channel all the damn time. It was like a Sunday afternoon movie that always popped up. And I remember watching it one day and I was like, I liked it at the time. And I always thought, why is it that so many people hate this movie? Or not hate, but just like don't pay any attention to it. And I mean, you go back and watch it and yeah, it's like some of it, the acting's not the best, you know what I mean? But it's still, it's like, I read somebody had posted a review. They were like, you like Home Alone? Then you're going to love this. They were like, it's Home Alone with terrorists and no of the little silly hijinks. There's real stakes involved. A prep school of rejects are out to kill these terrorists and take back their school. I was like, okay, Home Alone with violence. Okay, yeah, like serious violence, not the other violence that they actually put, which you come to think about it, the violence in Home Alone was off the charts.
Well, it was Looney Tunes. It was very.
I know.
Looney Tunes.
When they get hit in the face with the paint can and then they fly back through the stairs and hit the back of their heads with the paint cans and then land on the bottom of the stairs, like they would be dead. Those people would have been dead so many times.
Concussion, at least.
Oh, at least. But yeah,
good.
Toy Soldiers was one that came to me, and I was like, I don't think people give it enough credit.
It's good. It was that time where if you were young and if it was a teenager saving the world with 25-year-old actors playing the teenagers, it made a lot of sense. Red Dawn was what, a couple years prior.
Many years. I say many years prior.
That's late 80s.
Well, let's see. Toy Soldiers was what, 90, 91?
90 something. It was 91.
It was like
91.
91. It was 91?
91.
It was 91. And then Red Dawn was 84, 83.
84. You nailed it. 84. But I mean, they did hold interest, right? Like you would love watching that. Like Kim said, Starship Troopers, because that is a movie that absolutely I saw at the theater and I was like,
I loved it.
Now I'm like,
I still love it.
I watch that. It's just it's horrible, goofy fun, and I'm in for it.
People miss the point that Paul Verhoeven was trying to make with
talk about movie. A movie that's poignant now.
Oh, dude!
Starship Troopers is that.
That is it's such an interesting thing and I mean the book was amazing, and then he did a great job of translating that book onto the screen. It wasn't word for word by any means. He changed a bunch of stuff to make it more action-packed for the viewer. But yeah, Starship Troopers gets criminally underrated.
See, this is where you and I are going to fight, because I appreciate the movie for what it is, but it is completely Paul Verhoeven took the story and the ideas and then did a completely different thing. Like that's my problem with the movie is that it's like there were things that, because I'm a Heinlein fanboy, that Heinlein was doing with that book that he just shit on entirely, and I'm like,
yes,
but
it's fine.
Like,
it's fine. It's fine.
It's his interpretation.
We're good.
He focused. He focused on a very interesting aspect of that book. It's present, but it's left out of the It's not what people focus on when you read the Heinlein novel by any means, right? It is definitely the Heinlein novel is more of this interesting craziness about space life and the futurism of it all, right? I mean, when I read it, that's what I take away from it, is the interesting intricacies of how far these people have come in space travel and the war that's raging on across planets and these soldiers and how they're used and stuff. But Verhoeven saw it and he read it and he saw a fascist regime. Do you know what I mean? That was taking over the world. And then in his fantastic style, he made a comedy out of it. Like, people don't realize this is a science fiction action comedy, and so many people look at it and they're like, this movie was terrible. And it's like, yeah, because you didn't see it for what it was. Like, Ray, when you went and saw it in the theater, you're like, this is a complete waste of time.
No, I didn't say that. I thought interesting, kind of cool, but I didn't appreciate it for what it was then until much later in life. And now it's like, if that movie is ever on, that goes on.
You're gonna watch it.
You know, I'm gonna watch it. Sometimes I'm like, you know what I haven't seen in 3 months? Starship Troopers. And I'm gonna put it on in the background. You know, it's just
now 2 and 3 and all the other little bits.
Don't even
total junk. First one, genius.
Yeah,
Jason,
I had to separate it from the book, but see, the problem is Fantastic Four was in 1 and 2.
Was that your one?
Yeah, there was, because I mean, again, they really are. They're good. It's just it does take some. You're like, okay, well, you know what? It's a tight script. Like, my original problem was, but Doom, again, it's armor, but they gave him powers. But it's like, you know what? The way it's still Doom, because he's trying to obtain power, right? It's still the same. It's better. I just think it's one of those things where you watch it, everything just gets better the more you watch it. So I think it is underrated. I think,
and we love you. I'm reading her comments.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm glad she corrected it, because I was like, with children added, what? Why would you put children there? Sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I would say was underrated. And the problem is, I think a lot of these films are over the test of time have sort of won out, right? The ones that were underrated at the time, they've become cult classics. Sort of like Deep Space Nine, right? The fandom want more Deep Space Nine, but they keep giving us Picard. And it's like, over time, a lot of these things that were underappreciated at the time have, again, become cult classics, like Starship Troopers. So I think Fantastic Four is one I have to put my stamp of approval on, because that hasn't caught up, I don't think.
I was talking with my friend the other day about this, and I said, I was like, he brought up a very interesting point, and it's like what you're saying now, is that when you're thinking back on what you would consider to be an underrated film, to you, it's not underrated. And so it's really hard to come up with a list or say this is an underrated film, because for you, you're like, it's either a cult classic that you and your friends or a few people that you hang out with enjoy, and it is that cult classic sort of situation. But and so I had to remind myself, I actually had to start Googling the success of the movie to see if what I thought it was really an underrated movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So if you go searching for underrated films, this blew my mind. On almost every single list I saw, the movie That Thing You Do showed up on the list. Now, I don't know if anybody else here remembers the movie or not. It was the Tom Hanks movie where he basically made the Beatles in a way, and they were one-hit wonders, right? Kim, The Fifth Element is mine and my wife's soul movie. We've seen it on our anniversary, because it actually came out on the same day we were married, like however many years later, which was weird. We didn't know that, but it was the only movie that we both owned on DVD together when we were merging our movie collections. And we were like, it was one of those, hey, I like The Fifth Element, and it was like, you like The Fifth Element? I like The Fifth Element. And we were like, let's smash. And then that's how that worked out. So
that's the one thing we got.
But that's seriously, like, I don't know why That Thing You Do kept coming up on all these lists, because to me, I was like, that was an acclaimed, like, that was a critical success. That had made a soundtrack that showed up on the radio.
Yeah, it did.
That's not an underrated movie. Like, I don't understand why that was popping up on these lists, but to your point, Jason, when it becomes a cult classic, it is a little difficult to look at it as an underrated film, but it's still, technically, if you think about it, it still is underrated because it didn't get the accolade that it deserved in its time. And it hasn't really made as big of an impact as it should have, given the stuff behind it. Dark City.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Anybody remember Dark City?
Yes.
Completely underrated.
Yeah.
But again, has now made cult classics.
But do you know why it was completely underrated? Because The Matrix came out like 3 months after it and just went and knocked it on its ass.
Which also happened to oh my God, what was the one with Christian Bale?
Equilibrium.
Oh yeah, Equilibrium.
Equilibrium.
Yeah.
Another
Equilibrium.
one. Equilibrium is definitely one.
I mean, Taye Diggs and it did a great job in that film. That film was a great fascist regime, right? Not in Paul Verhoeven style, but it was there. Yeah, dude, like Dark City was phenomenal. I think Dark City did a better job of explaining not explaining the craziness. Instead of people living in a computer, they were living on this crazy spaceship. You know what I mean? With all these crazy aliens that were trying to understand emotion. And I thought that was a way more interesting. It's a way more interesting concept than just, hey, you're stuck in the machine. Yeah. So, but yeah, Matrix had way more flashier, fancy, cool, but still badass movie.
Kim with Daybreakers, Ethan Hawke.
Daybreakers.
Also a good one.
Vampires with John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yes.
John Carpenter. Oh yeah. With James Woods.
James Woods.
That's right. James Woods.
One of the many Baldwin brothers.
Yeah. The only vampire movie where they're like, hey, you know what? Why don't we fight these guys during the day?
Yeah.
And their plan is just dragging them out. Like,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, I've always wanted to do the Afternoon of the Dead where there's the zombie uprising, but it's done in a couple of hours because everything in the world is designed to prevent strong, fast, intelligent humans from breaking into your home. And zombies are dumb, slow, uncoordinated humans. It's like, just go into your house. And then, of course, in America, like we've all got guns, it would be over really quick.
I mean,
it depends on if it's everyone gets sick and then dies.
If it's 28 day later vampires, I don't think, or zombies, I don't think we got a chance.
Or even World War Z. If it's those types of zombies or anything, when they run at you and you can't get away. But you'd be amazed. Listen, we are not the top of the food chain. We're just lucky that we're still here, is really what's going on right now. People are so stupid that so many people are going to be, I don't believe in the zombies, munch. So like, and they're going to, it's ridiculous.
Would solve itself. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying it'd be a bad day.
Sort of. No, dude, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in high positions that run things that are, would be, killed as a result of this and would lead a lot of other people to die as a result of this. So that's not necessarily, it would destroy our infrastructure. The idea that just because
I'm already sold on the idea. You don't have to make it better.
So ridiculous,
Genesis with a good point on the fact that cult classics tend to become overrated. And it becomes taboo to say anything negative about it, right? And that's not unfair. There are certain cult classics that I'm like, no, I'm not a fan of. But
I tried watching Twin Peaks, the series. I can't watch it. I don't get it. I don't understand why it was a cult classic, and I'm not going to. I tried. So I don't know.
So for me, I've got honorable mentions, but I think one recently that hasn't had time to become a cult classic, Genesis, Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
Where he's attacked by the
doesn't have a single word in this Five Nights from Freddy ripoff that someone was just trying to beat them to the punch before that movie got released. And
I was wondering why that came out. Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's fun. And just seeing him tear through animatronics that are possessed, I'm just like, what is this crap? And you can't be mad.
And all the tropes are there. All of them are there.
All of them. It's it's so bad that it's just fantastic, man. And
He
just
plays pinball while people are getting killed because it's his brain.
or his sport or his energy drinks that he's
Yes.
got to be nuclear waste on his
Mhm.
his urine by now, right? Like that should be a bright green whenever he goes to pee. But that movie was just something about it that just makes me chuckle and laugh and watch it the entire way through. And I know
Mhm.
we've talked about sometimes where movies make you feel uneasy or uncomfortable when you're watching them if they're horror flicks. This isn't one of them. You're like, here comes trope number 4, and you're just
Yeah.
like, how is this going to play out? But
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the
It's,
here's the teenagers boning in the most inappropriate place and
Yeah.
time ever
of course, yeah.
to get
it's-
murdered. Yeah, it's like it's every trope and it's one of those things where they're like, oh, so it's trying to deconstruct the no, it's not trying to do
No.
anything except have a
No.
damn good time.
In that
And
movie,
it does.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love
It's-
it.
I'll have to check it out. I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet.
You won't.
wouldn't
You
mind,
won't.
you know.
You won't run into problems with it, Sean. I
That's good.
know. Yeah,
That's good.
you're going to be like, what is this junk? And it's, but I think it's completely underrated.
Kim has
feels
a
like a
very good
satire.
point. Yeah, Cabin in the Woods was much like that. It was good, even though it it was a horror movie, but it was because you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Like it was
Yeah.
good. So
I still think what's his face? The guy who plays Thor was in on it the entire time.
Oh, you're talking about
Chris Hemsworth?
Chris Hemsworth's character.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
so,
don't think
dude. The way he dies in that
Yeah.
he dies. Why would he be
Yeah.
in on it? And no,
I understand, but the thing again doesn't mean he wasn't betrayed or just screwed up, right? But
And
it's
very funny on how he dies too. By the way,
yeah.
I'm going
he
to make
flew
the
to the wall.
jump.
Real
and
quick,
that was great because it's like no, Don, watch or don't watch whatever you want, man. That's the whole point of this.
no, this makes you a terrible
all
human
good.
being.
I am
I'm
with
ashamed to know
you and Kim though. I don't get the love for The Office.
I think it when I watched it, I was at a very scarily similar time in my life as that character was, dude. Because it's like the apartment complex they filmed it at was like it was almost like 3 blocks down the road. I mean, it looked like.
Are you talking about Office Space?
No, that's
or The
Office
Office?
Space.
Talking about The Office.
I'm sorry, Office
Yeah.
Space.
Steve Carell.
Never mind.
Yeah.
No, The Office. No, I don't get it.
No, no.
either.
Office
I didn't
Space-
watch that.
Office Space is
Friggin'
one of those ones
genius.
that
That's a genius movie. Yeah.
that we talk about hitting just the top level of cult classic, where it came
think
out,
so.
no one got it, but then everyone
Yeah.
started watching it and was like, "No, you don't understand. This
You
is."
don't understand this.
I
Yeah.
know those people. I've
How
worked
many
with
times do
those
I tell
people.
you, Jason,
It
or I
was
think I even
filmed on
told you, Sean, that
635, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
that should be a required thing for all corporate offices that are like that. You have to sit there and watch this for 2 hours. That's
You
you'll get the
should.
rest of
I
it.
think,
You're
yeah,
either in or you're out after this movie.
Mm-hmm.
pretty much. Yeah, and it. But yeah, no, I agree. I've never. The only thing I've watched on The Office is the bloopers and the outtakes reels that show up in my feed on Facebook because I like the people who acted in it. They've gone on to do other things that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And seeing them act and watching them crack each other up, that makes me laugh. But I could never, I never found the actual show funny. I didn't. It was just too blah.
Same.
You know?
Yeah, so it's got funny clips, it's got funny bloopers. Like the bloopers for Parks and Rec,
Waiting.
I think are funnier than the show ever was.
Yeah.
I never got
Yeah,
into it.
Waiting
I
is
just
fun.
didn't.
Kim, watching Waiting with Ryan Reynolds actually made me stop going out to restaurants for just a bit.
To restaurants.
Like I was eating a lot of sandwiches at home after that came out.
Uh-huh.
Funny though, I loved it.
It was that was good. I never honestly in the years that I was working in food and industry, we never did anything like that. I never met anybody who did anything like that.
I'll tell a story if you don't mind, Sean. I hate to interrupt.
Hey man,
But
go for it, dude.
so I never really thought like that as a teenager either, and I grew up doing grocery stores, so it wasn't
Mhm.
the restaurant thing never did. But I had a friend, or rather an acquaintance, who did do pizza. In fact, probably the same establishment that you did. And so one day we're at lunch and he's telling us, that's our senior year, so we're just BSing our way through. But he was talking about the fact that when he really doesn't like someone, he'll take out, grab a couple of pubes, pop it on the pizza. As he's telling the story, one of the teachers walks by, decides to stop and talk, and then she looks and she goes, "Don't you work at so and so place?" And He goes, yeah. And she goes, best pizza ever. Although I did find a hair on my pizza the other day, and we all just said, you couldn't say nothing. And we're like, have fun. Again, for a brief moment, never hit that point. That's what watching and waiting was like.
The only thing I ever did that was anything like that was I put mineral oil on this one dude's pizza because he used to do the same thing to us every single week. Thursday night, 5 minutes before we close, right? It is 9:55. He would order, and he was at the edge of our delivery range. He would order the Supreme, so it means everything has to go on it. And sure, people would be like, well, Sean, why don't you just make the pizza and set it aside? And it's like, we did that once in a while, but then there were those times when you would do it and he wouldn't order it. And it's like, well, now I've just wasted all this food and this money, and you can't do that. So I just started pouring mineral oil on his pizza when it came out, because it's tasteless. It doesn't do anything. It tastes a little oily, but it gives you the shits. I mean, if you eat it, it makes you shit. And because your body just can't process it. So I would just basically give him a shit pizza. I'm like, here you go, dude, have fun. And I was just like, it doesn't hurt you. It's not going to kill you. But I did that to that guy. And I mean, I don't remember if he kept ordering or not. I just remember that I started doing that. And the manager was like, you can't do that, man. You got to stop. You got to stop.
Years later, he developed severe diverticulitis. And
I've got, well, actually, maybe that's why I have.
Maybe that's why you have it.
This is my karmic slapback. So
I'm going to give an honorable mention to a movie I didn't think I would ever do. Green Lantern, Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern.
Okay.
I still have never seen that.
If you were to just place a completely different soundtrack, other than whoever they got to do the score for this movie, I think that movie is not as bad. The score just really took it out of it for me. I think looking back on that, and I'm not saying that movie is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think it's underrated in the fact that there was some good stuff in it. I don't disagree with Ryan Reynolds being Hal Jordan.
He was a miscast.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think
he could have played it differently. I think the problem is there was a lot of problems, but I see what you're saying. That if it had a better soundtrack, because it does play into it, right?
It's just
the emotion.
It's just on, the edge of being a underrated movie. I'm not saying it doesn't deserve the hate that it gets. I'm not. But it's like right there, and I think just a couple of minor changes could have pushed that over the edge, and we'd be talking about, Green Lantern was actually pretty good, but the problem is you're in a time of the Dark Knight, right? Like,
there's so many other things around it.
Iron Man, it was hitting its stride, and it's easy to bash, but I think
I will 100% resonate with you on the idea that a soundtrack can change an entire film.
Mm-hmm.
If underrated, sort of, but not really. But there is a movie out, The Good Son, with Macaulay Culkin and
Frodo.
What's his name? Yeah, exactly. Not Sean Astin, but the other guy. That guy.
You said Frodo. Yeah.
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood. All I could think was Ethan Hawke. I'm like, that's not it. So, but the first, like, that was Macaulay Culkin's first like bad guy movie after going through all the Home Alones and stuff like that, and it was underrated, right? Again, it was good. Yeah. The problem with that movie, I tried to go back and watch it the other day. The first 10, 15 minutes, I mean, it's a terrible story, right? This kid and his father, they lose their mother. She dies. And, the son he's devastated. He has to go stay with somebody else while his dad has to go on this business trip because it was already planned and there's no way to get around it. It's like, okay, whatever. So he goes and stays with his aunt and his uncle, and that's his cousin, who's Macaulay Culkin. But the first 10 minutes of this movie is nonstop music over everything. It is the weirdest freaking thing I've ever heard, and it's terrible. I remember that. It's a terrible composition. Yeah. The music doesn't fit the mood of the movie. It's like, what are you guys trying to establish with your tone here? what back alley keyboard salesman did you get to write this thing? This is terrible. And
Well,
so it's just a shit soundtrack.
Because you're completely right on that.
So
Yes,
there-
100%.
a lot of
So bad.
a lot of score leaders where they're sitting there, they're watching the movie first and then they're thinking about how to score it. That one felt like they said, here's the script. The guy read the first page and said, got it.
Right.
Started drafting his notes and everything else, and then just made something completely that wasn't the movie. It was too late to get someone else to score it again. And they're like,
maybe it was actually
let's just
originally
do it.
for another movie, and they're like, we've blown our
They
budget.
just had to
quick.
Genesis,
We
you
don't
can't
have
say
enough
that
for
about
this,
Aquaman. Not if you're liking The Flash. You can't say that about Aquaman. Sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I love the I like the Aquaman movie, and I do like Momoa as Aquaman. He'd make a much better Lobo, but I like the movie. But I'm sorry, that scene when he breaks into the submarine to save the submarine. I'm sorry, does that not just that whole scene give you like male stripper vibes?
I don't know what you're trying to tell us, Jason, but no, it didn't.
When he turns
I
around, looks over, he's
don't
like,
even remember that.
permission to come aboard. I'm sorry, that whole thing just screams. It's like, I remember when I saw it, I was like, if the next
Permission to
thing is
come aboard.
immediately someone's being chucked into a wall, I'm gonna expect inks.
But you know what? That would have been on par though with the '90s movies where Arnold said, catchy.
I know,
or
I
stupid
know,
catchphrases.
I know, I get
So
it, but
fits
it's just the
permission
way
to come
it's
aboard.
filmed, the way it's done. It just screams male stripper.
Get around.
Yeah, like the one Ray got that time. But yeah, okay. Underrated films. I know I've sung its praises, so I'm just gonna say it once. Pig. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's on. You can get it anywhere.
I still
Great
need to
movie.
watch that.
Great.
Yeah,
movie.
that's already become an instant cult classic.
Mhm.
Nick Cage.
Yeah, it is the most non-Nick Cage movie you'll ever see, but it'll remind. It's at the moment where you realize, holy shit, he's an actor. Like he's really good.
That's
Yeah,
not the
you
first time I
forget.
realized Nick Cage was an actor, man. Sorry, then you're not watching some of his
Well, but that's what I'm
earlier
saying. It's
movies.
easy for people to forget because he likes to do the over-the-top stuff. Which again, I still like his work with Ghost Rider. The scripts weren't strong, but I liked what he did with them. But
I hear there's
I'll
rumor
give
that he
Ghost
might
Rider. That's
be
an
coming-
underrated movie.
That I heard that he might be coming back as Ghost Rider again.
He's a
in one of
great
these
Ghost
upcoming
Rider, yeah.
franchises. I don't know.
The problem with that, and that because we're talking about now Avengers Secret Wars, if if
Mhm.
and when that goes forward.
Mhm.
The problem I have with that, they're saying that the director that has the in for it right now that Marvel's looking at is Sam Raimi. No, I
Don't
wish
do
Sam
that.
Raimi would quit making
Mhm.
movies.
Don't make
Like-
a Secret Wars with Sam Raimi. I don't want to see another. Listen. Sam Raimi, speaking of cult classics, has had some amazing the Evil Dead series and things he did with that. Fantastic.
Drag Me to
Come on,
Hell.
guys. Let's get away from Sam Raimi doing superhero movies. Get me a new, fresh director that's not just some overused. Like I'd like to see something like when the Russo brothers came and did this stuff.
Yeah.
Like that was amazing.
they knew what they
I
were
don't know-
doing.
They knew what they were doing. You know what? And if you
Mhm.
want to hand Secret Wars to them, fine. They'll probably get it done properly. But don't give this to Sam Raimi. Don't give this to somebody who has a campy background, who has that type of shit happening. Don't give it to Spielberg. Don't give it to any, like, come on, just give it to a new director.
Oh, definitely
somebody.
not Spielberg.
And don't give it to James Gunn. I mean, I know he's DC.
Okay,
guy.
hold on.
James
Hear me
Gunn,
out. Hear
you
me
know what I
out.
mean? Just
Mick
don't-
G. Mick G.
No,
What did McGee
no.
do?
Why would you say McG
Hold on.
from Charlie's Angels? McG?
That's I'm like, what is he talking about?
This means war, Mick G.
Okay.
This means
So
with
that
Chris-
McG's a director,
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
he was like the
Much
it
we were
guy in
talking
the
about
early
directors.
2000s.
but
Okay.
this means war
He's such a brilliant film.
was probably
That's
his
an underrated
that's a
film. You
good-
want an underrated? That's an
but
underrated
that's a
film.
good script though. That's a decent script. I don't think that's made better by McG. I think that's made better by the writers and the actors that he had for that film. I don't necessarily know that that's his thumbprint on that, like everything else. I watch that movie. I don't sit there and go, "Oh wow, this is a McG film." I don't do that at all.
Oh, no one's ever done that, which is
but
kinda why
underrated,
It's like
yes.
at this point, you might go ahead and throw. I'm just saying, anyone but I'm with you on this. Anyone but
But
him.
Sam
Again, I'm just saying, there's a whole bunch of people you could throw out there. So it's probably some dude doing YouTube that would make it better. I'm just saying, I like Sam Raimi for what he's done. I appreciate him. I just don't want him doing that movie.
Hey, really, some quick points, right? If you're not watching Ahsoka, fell in love with that.
Started yet.
Fell in love with it the first 5 minutes. I'm not going to say anything about it, but I'm really liking that show.
It's good.
Despite
it's solid.
Despite my earlier comments to both of you gentlemen, I did power through and finish the Clone Wars. So let me just say, for anybody who hasn't watched Clone Wars, don't. Instead, just watch the very last 4 or 5 episodes of the very last season. Watch the finale, because that will set you up for Ahsoka, I think, so much more than and you'll be rewarded, because I gotta say, listen, out of all 7 seasons of that whole show, they could have cut out 6 and just had 1 season, and it would have been fine. And it could have just been the story that needed to be told, and that would have been glorious.
I do believe I told you to skip that and just go straight to Rebels.
You did. And let me tell you what, I'm on Rebels now, and I am enjoying Rebels. I'm only in season 1. I don't think I've hit season 2 yet. Ahsoka has made her appearance. So I'm like, okay, cool. But I am also glad that I did watch all of Clone Wars, because there are, again, there's like, it's like the X-Files. There's gems of episodes in it. But when every single episode is, today on the Clone Wars, they're stuck on a planet and people are killing each other. Clones who have no personality are fighting once again these droids that are laughably comical, and there's no reason they should be heading up an army. Let's watch. And it's just like, I don't care. No one gives a shit.
I love the Clone Wars. I was not a big fan of Rebels, so I think honestly that's the thing. Is like there are people who are gonna like the Rebels, there's people who are gonna like Clone Wars, but that's just how it is. And I do think you should watch. You definitely need to watch at least a little bit of Rebels for Ahsoka.
I don't think
you have to.
You don't have to. You don't have to. But you do. You know who Hera is, Chopper. Yeah, you can get it without watching these things. You absolutely can. There's enough explanation, but if you want that sort of, you want a little bit more background on who these characters are, you should at least watch at least some of the Rebels. That's it. Just at least some of it.
Seriously though, the last 4, I think it is 4 episodes only, and they're like 30 minutes apiece, and it's Clone Wars. Those last 4 episodes, so much emotion, so good, so great. Like, that was great. That was actually a really good end to that series. I was glad it ended, but when it ended that way, I was just like, wow, you guys, where have you been hiding all this good content? So it was good. It was good shit. Yeah.
I will say though, it's not even a complaint. It's just a little kind of a thing. I think they miscast Hera in Ahsoka. I'm enjoying Ahsoka,
no spoilers.
But no spoil. Well, we know she's in the trailers. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I just think the actress was miscast. Everyone else is fine, and I'm not. She doesn't take me out of the show at all. I just think it's a miss. That's it. That's my only comment.
Another no spoilers. Blue Beetle. There's no new ground broken on it with an origin story, but man, was that movie fun! It's just a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it coming to
when it hits. We definitely should review, because I am interested in what you guys' take on that. But probably could be classified as underrated. Coming up, and definitely for the main actor on that. Like I know that Gunn has already hinted that he would be coming back for his DCU universe, and he needs to. To me, that was a fantastic film, and it has the tropes, and it doesn't play into those tropes, into how it's expected. And when it does, it does it really well. The execution on it's really well. What else? Looking forward to Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. That trailer just dropped. If anyone wants time to see it, but this is the whole thing for in between Godzilla 1 and 2. With Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell playing his younger version, which I thought was genius.
That's where this. I saw that they were playing. I saw that they were playing each other. Now I understand where this is coming from. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
So
Nice.
I don't know how long this is supposed to be, but they it looks like they're spending some money on this for Apple TV.
Cool. Well, Apple TV's been doing a lot of amazing things. I thankfully have Apple TV now, and I started watching Shrinking, which is a great.
Are you loving it?
I loved. I knew I would love it when I saw the cast, and I mean, first sitcom Harrison Ford's ever been in, and he does a great job. There's a bunch of other things that are on Apple Plus that I want to check out. This will be probably one of them. But yeah, that looks good. That looks good.
Yeah, it's and I love the fact that they're taking different vantage points from the first Godzilla now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can't wait to watch that. That's November, I believe.
Thing I'm looking forward to is called The Burial. Jamie Foxx, plays an attorney, and it's got oh, good grief, what is his name? It's got two. I'm just terrible with names here lately. I gotta stop drinking. Anyways.
Whoa, wait a minute, man.
I know. Whoa, easy.
Anything extreme.
I mean, I haven't had anything to drink all morning but water.
By the way, too, if you're not watching season 11 of Futurama.
Oh yeah, Futurama. Yeah, I've been liking it. It's much better than I thought it was going to be. Tommy Lee Jones, that's his name. So Jamie Foxx as a lawyer, Tommy Lee Jones as the client, and the guy who played Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was also in a couple of other sitcoms as well. He's the Tommy's lead attorney who decides to hire Tommy Lee Jones, Jamie Foxx. It looks good. I don't know if it's coming to just Amazon or if it's going to be in the movies too, but I saw a preview for it the other day and I was like, that looks interesting. So I've been interested in seeing movies that are outside the superhero norm.
Yeah.
We just watched Amsterdam the other day. I don't know if you've heard of it or seen it. I think it was kind of like another under the radar kind of situation. But is it Margot Robbie? Who's in that movie? Hold on. It's got Christian Bale for sure.
Oh yeah. It's like It's like right after World War I or
World War One.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's got Margot Robbie, Christian Bale, and John David Washington. Which John David Washington is one of my favorite latest actors that I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Ever since he started, or ever since the first time I saw him was on Ballers from HBO with The Rock playing that. He is the football star. He did such an amazing job as that dude. And then he was also in Tenet, which I still haven't seen. But then
I liked
when he did, I think it was called White Klansman. Did y'all see that one where he's the guy who plays the undercover? He's the FBI guy.
Yes.
He's
hysterical.
Hysterical. I love that movie. He's
him and Adam Driver.
Yes.
They're
infiltrating the KKK, and he is the guy who decides to pick up the phone. So he calls the KKK leader and talks to him and puts on his best white guy voice. And they're like, you can't do this. There's no way you can do this. And he does it. And he actually gets him to talk. And they discover and it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
And
Adam Driver ends up playing the real version of the voice. But Adam Driver, when he sits there and he goes, just the look of, are you stupid? And he's like, hear me out.
Yeah, it's a good. The White Klansman is a great movie. It's really good. But yeah, I've really loved everything I've seen him in. I've been like, dude, killing it, man. He's killing it. So, anyways, lots of good shit.
Are we ready for Netflix to air Rebel Moon?
Yes.
Zack Snyder's.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, since we're not getting Dune 2 this year, this is the one I'm looking forward to now.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to this. The other thing, Foundation. That's the other thing I want to check out on Apple TV
also,
Plus. Because based on the Foundation trilogy, which Isaac Asimov, the book is that book caught me way off guard. I did not expect to like that as much as I did, and then I read it and I was like, this is it's just so good. So yeah. But yes, Rebel Moon. I'm very much looking forward to that.
I'm worried. My only fear is that it's going to be like, one of those too epic things where they're trying so hard to be epic that it's like everything's epic. This is epic.
Everything
I've
is
got this epic cup of tea where it's just it falls
I
flat.
don't have
This
a cup of tea.
epic cup of
Again,
tea.
I'm not expecting it to be. I mean, again, it's Zack Snyder. I like his work. Everything, it's
Everything
clear
is
that
slow
this was-
mo.
I don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the, I don't like the spiders, man.
Yeah,
It's too big of a
Yeah,
spider.
yeah.
I mean,
but
clearly this was Star Wars originally. But
no, it was right. Zack
Yeah.
Snyder even said this was his
Mhm.
pitch, the version of an adult Star Wars, where he was like,
Yeah.
"This can happen in the universe," and Disney said, "No, we can't do that." And I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm thinking to myself, "Why?
Why?
Why
Why
would you
not?
not want to put this
So
in the Star
far-
Wars universe?"
It looks genius.
You know, and
But you
yeah,
know
you're
what?
right. We know we're gonna
I'm
get this.
glad-
Go ahead.
I'm glad it's not in the Star Wars universe because now it doesn't have to deal with all the nerds. No offense, guys,
Yep.
who are like,
not my Batman.
where's the Jedi and how come it's not a Skywalker and where did Palpatine come from and who is Snoke? Where did Snoke come from? Why do we have Snoke? Shut up, you idiots! Just enjoy something in a universe that can breathe and be its own self. Come on.
But this does look. It almost kind of reminds me too of Zack Snyder just giving everyone a great big middle finger and going, "See what I could have done for you?
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just
exactly
stay out
what
of
it
my
is,
way
too.
and let me do what I want to do." You know, and
You know what? I'm gonna tell everybody that this is actually in the universe of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. If anybody asks me, I'm just like, that's where this movie lies.
that's where this lies.
That's where this lies.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good, man. It looks good.
Yeah,
And
looks-
I love
looks
the
fantastic.
fact that he managed to get lightsabers in there without there being lightsabers.
Without there being lightsabers.
Yeah.
Sabers, yeah.
Absolutely wonderful.
So good.
I am looking forward to this. Like I said, since we don't get Dune
Mhm.
Part 2.
Yeah, that hurt. That hurt me.
But as Sean said, with the actors and writers who are striking,
They should absolutely strike your hearts out. You guys deserve more. Most of us deserve more than what we're getting. And I am so pro union for these folks. I think they deserve the crazy record profits from all these people. Like, sure, yeah, you guys are running these things, but you don't deserve to have a 65% wage increase over the course, or how 85, whatever the numbers were. I don't even know the numbers, so I'm not smart enough to speak to it. All I know is it's completely disproportionate. Everybody's pay should be raising the same way. I'm not saying that some people shouldn't have higher paying jobs and some people shouldn't have lower paying jobs. I get that there's a scale, but I remember a time when I was younger that I could have remembered like a cost of living increase where people were like, hey,
Mhm.
because things are changing, because it's getting more expensive to
Yeah.
live, everybody's going to go ahead and get raises. That doesn't happen anymore. And we need to get back to that because that's why people are so, that's why there's such a gap, man. I mean, it's ridiculous.
and also for you out there who are employing people, if someone is applying at your job, your place of location,
Mm-hmm.
that means that they are going to do whatever you ask them to do. It's not for you to look at their resume and go, well, we obviously are going to insult you if we offer you a job here. No, they're applying there for a reason. It's okay. Just throwing that out there in the universe.
Well said.
No
Well
reason.
said.
Well said, Raven.
That's well
No
said.
reason.
And
Yeah.
and for the employers who are doing that, who are giving people, a fair shot and who are taking care of their employees, thank you.
Thank you.
We know it's not everybody out there, but just like, we all need to be together on this page, and there are some folks in company doing it. So, happy for them, but definitely writers strike, actors strike. I'm glad they're doing it. They deserve, a normal living, not to be struggling in poverty simply because somebody tells you to,
Yep.
So
Fair wages, fair compensation. Not too much to ask for, particularly
Nope.
considering how much time they spend talking about the rest of the world. Might as well actually, they should probably do the shit that they've been talking about. That's all I'm saying.
Close us out, Jason.
All right, we're done. We'll probably come back at some point in the future. God only knows when. I've got no plans. There's no way of planning this.
Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
Maybe
We'll
2
try
weeks,
not to,
maybe a month,
see.
maybe next year. I don't
definitely
know.
not trying to do a
2027 looks pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, no, not a big enough break. A lot happened. We got aliens during this time. We got, wars going on. We know we've
I mean,
been out for a bit.
We've had aliens, and Jason was right. Jason was right. We've had aliens. We were just finally told that aliens are real. True. So good on you, Jason, and the rest of the cryptozoologists for continuing to keep that torch lit.
Bigfoot's still not real.
Bigfoot's still not real.
Close us out, Jason.
All right. If you want to email us for some reason, I don't know why, there's stuff. You can email us at vagabond@gmail.com.
Since 2018, you haven't emailed us, people.
You haven't emailed us before. Why start now? Again, Jeremy, Titan Comics. Go say hi. Spend money there. You got lots of places
for the new
money.
Predator versus Wolverine coming out.
Yeah,
November, exactly. I believe. So, last shot with Kim. We're nerdy quarterly.
Solid quarterly, Kim. Solid.
Yeah, solid quarterly. At least once a quarter. Yeah. Maybe biannually. But anyway, we're out. Raymond, start pushing the buttons. Where's our outro song?
I don't know, man. You're asking way too much for me.
One of these days, I'll actually get that edited.
No, I don't want. It's better this way. It leads to more stuff. But you guys have fun. Be kind to each other. Don't go to a Whataburger and laugh at the people that are in line. Maybe they're in line for a reason. You jerks.
Yeah. It's rude.
Have a good one.
Night.